Hello, my name is Randy Harris. I'm the superintendent of Huntington County Schools. The purpose of the video that we're doing today is to provide some information for parents and the community on what we do with school safety here in our schools. School safety is our #1 priority, and we want to make you aware of some of the things and some of the steps that we take when we have threats issued within our schools. So now I'm here with a couple of special guests. I'm here with Chief Hacker of the Huntington City Police Department and Sheriff Stoffel with the Huntington County Sheriff's Department. I'm going to ask them a couple of questions and talk about procedures we do. So once the school receives some type of threat, we immediately turn it over to the school resource officer and local law enforcement, and they take it from there. So Chief Hacker, what do you do with a threat when it's turned over? How do you take those?
When we get the threat, Officer Whitman, our school resource officer, he'll immediately contact his supervisor, which is Chris McCutcheon. At that time, we deem what steps we need to take at that time, following up on the particular tip we had, reaching out to any individuals that maybe witnessed any of this or heard anything, talk to all the students that we can. At that time, we stay in communication with the Sheriff's Department, and if need be, we turn it over to our investigators in the Detective Bureau if we need to go a step further.
And likewise, then investigations are going on with both the police department as well as the administrators in whatever building the threat may have came through.
That's correct, yeah. We work hand in hand with the schools, and then if we need to, we get additional officers involved.
Okay. And Sheriff Stoffel, I know, the other one, obviously our goal is when we feel like we have a threat, after the investigation, we're hoping that we can track it down to where that threat comes from. If that's the case, then how are things handled at the point where we've deemed that there is a threat and we've been able to find the person responsible for that?
Yeah, so like the prosecutor's office and our offices are working hand in hand on this as well. So Amy is very up to speed on all the things that happen, and I guess it's just a little warning I want to send out. I would think everybody should know the ground rules. If you're going to engage in this kind of behavior and disrupt class and make people feel like they're not safe, that's our #1 priority, is make people feel like they're safe so they can learn. We're going to take it as far as we can on our end, so there will be a prosecution if we have enough stuff to put together for the case, and that's our direction. We're going to go on all of them.
Just to let you know, again, as parents and community people, once we have made an investigation and we feel like we really have some information that is reliable, that's the time that we will make a statement, make a release, or those kind of things via social media, via school messenger, and all of those types of ways that we have to communicate. In many cases, some of these threats that people perceive as threats anyway are simply rumors that really have no basis in fact, and in those cases, we may not be making a statement. Okay, so now I've got a couple more questions here for our local law enforcement. First one for Chief Hacker. When we turn a threat over to you, what process do you cover, and how do you determine whether it's a credible threat or not credible threat?
I think one of the first things we look in is how was the information relayed to us, whether it was something that was turned over to us from the school, a threat made in that particular school, or whether it was made on social media, things like that. If it's something that happens within the school, we immediately get the school resource officer involved. If it's a social media comment, we try to follow up as much as we can, find out who maybe made that original post, go speak to them and find out where they got their information from.
Okay. And again, for Sheriff Stoffel, what should people do when they see it on social media, when they hear about it at the local store? What should they do if they pick up any of that information? Should they continue on with social media? What should happen?
Well, the first thing is it's like a fire burning out of control in California. You don't add fuel to that fire. You don't push it through and keep talking about something maybe you don't have a full understanding about. So if you have any questions during business hours while the school's in session, call the school and ask the school. If it's after hours, we encourage you to call our dispatch center down there. It's 356-7110 or 356-8316 and relay it to our dispatch center. They will get it in the hands of the people that need to be, which is the school corporation, resource officer, and Chief Hacker and myself. So they will make sure we get all that. So, and we do get information after hours, and that's fine. Don't discard it. Don't wait to deal with it till the next day. We want to know about it now.
think the other thing that you need to know to gather more information on this, and these gentlemen will remember we had a school safety meeting back on April the 3rd that we had at the auditorium at Huntington North High School. It was about an hour and a half long. We had law enforcement there. We had the prosecutor's office, school resource officers, state police were there. So we had all of the people that are involved whenever we believe that there's any type of a threat. So we're going to put a link to that also here on our social media pages, that I would encourage you to go back and watch that video, because I think it really does a good job of covering all of the steps that we take, all of the methods we use. And we don't want it to be a secret, and that is that we do take care of our students, and that truly is our #1 priority. And again, I can't say enough to thank these gentlemen and all of the law enforcement officers on their staff. As people in Huntington County, you need to understand that when something happens, they just get the job done. They don't care whether it happened in the city. They don't care what happened to the county. They're who's the first person that can get there to take care of the issue. So I thank them again. The questions came to me, what's the school going to do if they do have a credible threat? If we find that we have a credible threat, we're going to use all communications available to us, the #1 being school messenger, to send out an instant alert to let people know that an emergency is going on. We may also have a school lockdown. In that case, parents need to know that a school lockdown means that nobody comes into the building, nobody goes out of the building. So it really does not help anybody to come to the school wanting your child, because at that point in time, we're going to lock down the building to make sure we are able to take care of the threat that we have deemed credible. So those are some of the things that would happen in the case of a true emergency. If we find that a threat is not credible, we may take a couple of different steps. We may send out a message alert to the home. We may send out an email or a text alert. We may not send out anything if it's truly based on a rumor or innuendo or something that pops up on social media that we find that there's no validity or truth in. So we handle those based on the information that we receive after we have turned it over to law enforcement and they've made an initial investigation. We are not going to be notifying anybody at the immediate time that we receive the threat, but it's going to be after law enforcement and school administrators are able to make some determination on that perceived threat. Another question that I've received is, why aren't you communicating all of this in real time so that we know exactly what's going on? Well, the answer to that's very simple. We want to make sure that we're conducting a thorough investigation. We're not going to be worried about communicating out until we've got very clear answers that we know the answer to. We don't want to perpetuate rumors, innuendos, and other best guesses that may be going around social media. We want to make sure that when we give you information that it has been researched, that it is thorough, and that it is accurate. So those things are things that we try to keep in mind before we make a communication to parents or to the community, that we know that it's based on information that we have gathered through our investigations. So the questions also came up on why don't we communicate using School Messenger solely. The reason for that is twofold. Not everybody is signed up for it, and I would encourage parents to go to your Power School account. You can get that taken care of for School Messenger. If you want to add to it even text alerts, email alerts, or voicemail alerts, we can communicate in all of those ways, but if you're not receiving those, please go on and get signed up for it. The other reason is that there are many community members that do not have a child directly in our schools. So the best way of communicating with them is, if they are seeing it on social media, is also to reply to the social media. We try to use that as a last resort, but sometimes that's our only method of getting there. The other thing we want to accomplish through this video is to continue the dialogue between the school district and those of you that are watching the video. So I encourage you, if you have comments, if you have additional questions, please see those. You can either click below and comment, or you can send those directly to my email account, which is rharris@hccSC.k12.in.us. But we will take those comments, we will take those questions, and we intend to do a Facebook Live later next week to reply to those and to give updated information. So thank you for taking the time to do this, and we look forward to your comments and questions also.